Gifford Pinchot has an extraordinary legacy and is considered the architect of American conservation. Renowned as the inaugural chief of the U.S. Forest Service and a transformational governor of Pennsylvania, Pinchot revolutionized environmental policy. His achievements in expanding forest reserves, pioneering the concept of public lands, and championing sustained yield forestry have cemented his status as a cornerstone of the North American model of wildlife conservation. Pinchot's commitment to sustainable resource management and environmental education continues to influence our stewardship of natural resources today. He graduated from Yale in 1889, honed his expertise in forestry through studies in France, Switzerland, Germany, and Austria, and brought back valuable knowledge to the then nascent field of forestry in the United States. Upon his return in 1892, he began pioneering forestry work at George W. Vanderbilt's Biltmore Estate in North Carolina, marking the advent of professional forestry management in the United States. Pinchot's public service career flourished as he joined the National Forest Commission in 1896 and became the confidential forest agent to the Secretary of the Interior in 1897. By 1898, he was appointed chief of the Division of Forestry, later the Bureau, and then the Forest Service in the Department of Agriculture. Under his leadership, the Forest Service system and administrative machinery were developed, significantly advancing the American conservation movement. Further cementing his legacy, Pinchot established the Yale School of Forestry and the Yale Summer School of Forestry, becoming a professor of forestry there in 1903. His appointment as State Forester of Pennsylvania in 1920 showcased his ongoing commitment to forestry management and conservation, influencing future generations and policies in sustainable forestry practices. Pinchot's tenure as the first chief of the U.S. Forest Service from 1905 to 1910 was transformative for American environmental policy. He significantly expanded the national forest system, implementing groundbreaking policies for sustainable and scientific forest management. Pinchot's approach, encapsulated in the philosophy of the greatest good for the greatest number in the long run, balanced economic needs with environmental stewardship, setting a precedent for future environmental policy in the U.S. His practical conservation methods prioritize the social good and resource potential of forests. Pinchot's leadership saw the establishment of the Use Book, guiding the use of national forests, and he founded the American Society of Foresters to promote professional forestry development. Even after leaving the Forest Service, he continued to influence conservation policies and practices, solidifying his legacy as a key figure in American conservation and the father of the U.S. Forest Service. His work laid the foundations for modern environmentalism and sustainable resource management in the U.S. During the Roosevelt administration, Pinchot significantly influenced American conservation efforts as well. As the first chief of the U.S. Forest Service, he was pivotal in tripling the nation's forest reserves, focusing on their practical use for both conservation and recreation. His pragmatic approach was shaped by his background, emphasizing the role of well-managed forests in supporting livelihoods. His collaboration with President Roosevelt was instrumental in transforming forest reserves to the Bureau of Forestry in 1905, creating the foundation of the National Forest System and the U.S. Forest Service. This partnership led to the designations of 16 million acres as reserves, known as the Midnight Forests. A notable controversy of this period was the debate over the Hetch Hetchy Reservoir, which many of you have probably heard about in Yosemite National Park. Pinchot supported damming the valley for San Francisco's water supply, demonstrating his pragmatic conservation approach. This decision highlighted the evolving conflict between conservationists, who advocated for the practical use of natural resources, and preservationists focused on protecting natural landscapes. Pinchot's tenure during the Roosevelt administration marked a critical phase in shaping national conservation policies and practices. His governorship and later career were characterized by his enduring commitment to conservation and efficient resource management. After his impactful tenure as the first chief of the U.S. Forest Service, Pinchot served 2 terms as the governor of Pennsylvania, first from 1923 to 1927, and then from 1931 to 1935. During his governorship, he continued to prioritize conservation while also focusing on education and welfare. He applied his forestry experience to state governance, promoting sustainable resource use and advocating for environmental stewardship. Pinchot's role in conceptualizing public lands, including national forests and the foundation for agencies like the Bureau of Land Management and the National Park Service, was pivotal. He emphasized the democratic nature of these lands, shaping contemporary land management and conservation discussions. Additionally, Pinchot's visionary approach to environmental education led to the establishment of the Yale Forest School, underscoring the importance of formal education in forestry and environmental studies. His strategic career planning focused on building forestry as a profession in the U.S. His emphasis on sustainability, adding in the long run to the utilitarian principle noted earlier of the greatest good for the greatest number, has become a key tenet in modern environmentalism. Pinchot's principles continue to influence environmental policies and conservation efforts globally. Gifford Pinchot's legacy is not just a tale of forests preserved or policies enacted. It's a stirring testament to the power of vision and perseverance in the face of environmental challenges. His life's work inspires us not only to educate ourselves about conservation, but also to actively engage in safeguarding our planet's precious resources. Let us embrace Pinchot's ethos, recognizing that every effort we make, no matter how small, contributes to a larger narrative of hope and stewardship. In honoring his memory, we commit to being guardians of our natural world, ensuring its beauty and bounty endure for future generations to cherish. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Aptitude Outdoors Podcast. I hope you learned something about Gifford Pinchot and his lasting legacy in conservation here in North America. It's been a fun exploring all of this stuff, and we got plenty more people to learn about, so thanks for listening. We'll be back soon with another episode.